Hey, this is Judah Mantel from SceneForge Studio, and in this video I'm going to go over the changes, improvements, and major new features in version 0.4.4. This is super exciting, it has a ton of new stuff, and I'm super excited to share that with you in this video. So let's jump right in. The first thing you'll notice is that the transform gizmos, or sliders, or handles, or whatever word you want to use, have been overhauled significantly. Now they're much friendlier, they look much nicer, they're much cleaner, and they work much better. So here is the move tool, so you can move it on all three axes, as well as click and drag this plane here to move it on X and Z axis. So rather than having to hold shift, which is kind of annoying, now you can just click and drag the little plane here. Now going into rotation mode, again the rotation gizmos just look so much better, and they're much easier to select. And scale, which you can't do on cameras, so I'm going to bring in a cube really quickly to demonstrate that. Primitives and cube. Here's a cube. Now you can scale it like that. You can also scale uniformly by dragging from the center, just like that. Now there's also a new uniform or universal gizmo, which you can get to by clicking the fourth button up here. And that basically allows you to control all three functions, so move, rotation, and scale all at once. So obviously scale doesn't work on cameras, but you can see here you can control all of them at once. So it just makes things much friendlier. Now for characters, when trying to pose them, the gizmos have changed a little bit as well. So I'm going to click Edit Pose, and I'm going to click and drag his hand here. So you can see now I can control the position, and rotation works a little bit differently. Now we get this quarter sphere here, which you can use to control the limbs. Now I think this works much better because you can it's much more easy to see the actual rotation of the object, which you couldn't really do by just the sphere previously. So now it makes it even easier to pose characters. Just like that. So the pose is a little silly, but, you know, it's something. Alright, so now that's our characters, that's new gizmos. Now let's talk about these other camera rigs. So previously, the other camera rigs, so cranes and tripods, were a little finicky. They didn't work as well as you would like. Now they are significantly improved as well. So let's say this crane here, you can of course control them with the sliders, as you'd expect. But now if you were to go into shoot mode, you can control the cameras in the same way you control free cameras, just by clicking and dragging. But this time you're actually moving the camera with the limitations of the rig. So if I move left and right, you can see I'm actually rotating the head on the base, like that. And if I move up and down, I'm actually controlling the height of the crane, just like this. So it works more like you'd expect. Of course, there are limitations, but that's just the way these camera rigs work. Same goes for tripods. When you control it, you are controlling the pan and tilt of the head. And of course, you can control the sensitivity for all of these. And one new thing that's added to tripods is the ability to choose the height. So now there's another slider here. You can control how tall the tripod is on a scale of 1 meter to 2 meters, which is pretty cool. Now for tracks over here, there's one other new thing that was added, and a few things that were changed. The first thing that was added is that now you can see the path length in feet and meters. So if I edit it, you can see the total length of the track is 86.9 feet or 26.5 meters. And you might have noticed that the curves of the track have been significantly improved as well. So now they're much more rounded, which is much more realistic to the way these dolly tracks would work in real life, because you don't really get, 90-degree angles on a physical track. So now it works a little bit better. Additionally, when you close loops, it now is much cleaner. So previously it was curves on 3 sides and then a 90-degree angle on the closed side. Now it is fully uniform on all 4 sides, which is just, it's a bigger improvement that I'm really happy with. I'm going to leave that over here. Now let's talk about storyboard mode. So I have a storyboard already here. And you'll notice a few things that are different. One, we now have these little continued shot indicators. So for example, if I want to indicate that the camera is rotating from here to here, rather than a new shot, so it's 1A and then 1B, I can click this little arrow, and it will link the two together. So now it's 1A and then 1AB, or 1A continued, or whatever naming convention you want to use. So I'm going to leave it blank, so it's just 1A and 1A. But you also notice that the floor plan is now visible here. So I'm going to go over the floor plan in a minute. But what this does is it shows you a top-down orthographic view that's stylized or kind of cartoonish of the scene at that moment when you took this shot. So you can see here, I'm looking through the window and I can see the character sitting on the cube. I can see where the light is. And what's super cool is that this now comes out in the exported storyboard. So if I were to go to export, you can see we have a new export menu that actually gives you a little preview. So I can turn on and off the floor plan, and you'll see it updates accordingly. I can show and hide different information, and this will kind of give you a rough outline of the way it will look. So now let me show you an example of the exported storyboard by going to, I'll close this, open up the folder, go to storyboards, and let's open up the most recent PDF in Adobe Acrobat. So you can see here, this is actually from another scene, but you can see the way it works. We have our shot, our information, our shot properties here. You can see the floor plan as well as all text that I added. You can see that. And you'll see there's also an arrow here. So this is what indicates the shot is continued. So you see this is 1A and this is 1AB because it continues the camera motion between these two frames. Now additionally, all of this information is essentially just images in your project folder. So if I go to image output, you can see here we have all the floor plans and all of the shots from our project. So what that means is that if you wanted to make your own storyboard in InDesign or Photoshop or whatever, you have access to all of this content here, which is great. Now, this is the floor plans integration with storyboarding, but now let's actually talk about the floor plan editor. It's going to get its own full tutorial video in the future, in the near future, but this will be an overview of the way it works. So you can click on this new little icon here, and that will now view the stage mode in floor plan view. So you can see we have a top-down view of our room here, our currently active camera, our character with the first letter of his character name, and some lights. Now you're probably wondering where are the other objects in the scene? Well, what I can do here is I'll drag in a cube over here, and then I'll go to my library tab and I'll drag in this color light checker right over here. Now by default, other objects, or objects other than characters, lights, and cameras, and rooms, don't appear in the floor plan. What we can do is, if we select the object, we can go to show in floor plan, and now these will get revealed to be visible in the floor plan editor as little boxes. Because if everything was shown by default, this will get pretty messy pretty fast. So that's just an easy way to, clean things up a little bit. So again, all of these new features will be getting their own video in the near future, probably by the end of the week, which is pretty cool. And that is an overview of all the new things that kind of just make your life even easier and give more and more features to SceneForge, the current beta release at least. And I'm super excited to see what you create with it. As always, you can tag us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, I think, at SceneForge app on basically all social media platforms. I'd love to see what you create. If you have any questions, you can email support@sceneforge.app. Also, there's now a Discord server, which I'd love for everyone to join, users of the software, so we can discuss, upcoming features, feature requests, bug reports, and anything like that. You can go to discord.gg/SceneForge, and that'll be an invite for you, which is super cool and super fun. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.